Now,
Recovery doesn't start tomorrow.
calling all angels.
Recovery starts right now. And here to help is Rated R for Recovery.
Calling all you angels.
I would go visit them for relief. I would go over
Get
there
some rest.
get some rest. Exactly. And my kids. Are you okay, John?
Yeah.
He burst into the microphone.
It was dinner
What
repeating
was,
on
yes,
me.
What was
Yeah.
part two of that question?
How did it affect your? Well, let's say we'll go back to your wife because that didn't
well,
work out
I had
well.
a restraining order on me, so it affected her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you found a common solution that a lot of people find, and that was through a 12-step fellowship. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And so did you immediately get results?
Well, I haven't had to drink or drug since my first meeting, so yes, it was immediate results. They told me that I would never have to pull in the driveway again and not go into my house and see my kids because I could not get out of the car sometimes. I
Yeah.
would put that thing in reverse and leave.
All right. So now the second segment of our show. Please welcome Christina Giordano. Is that how you pronounce it?
Very good. Very good. Thank you for having me.
And you yourself are in recovery.
Yes, I am.
And you have been, how long have you been sober now?
Well, this time I've been sober for almost 8 months.
Good. Congratulations.
It was 25 years before that.
So as we heard Tom S. say, find God, clean house, and help others. And the way we help others is we do a lot of different things, whether it's showing up at a meeting early and setting up the room, making coffee. In the old days, emptying ashtrays, but they don't let anybody smoke anymore, so that's gone. And or doing other things. I do other things. And Christina, you have chosen to write a book to help others, haven't you?
Yes, I have the book, The Ultimate High. It's a memoir. It started out as my personal journal and has developed into a book. A friend of mine from New York, from high school, she actually lives down here now, and she's been with me through the whole thing. And she said one day to me, she's like, you really need to write a book about this.
So tell us a little bit about, first of all, is there any information on how to purchase the book? Let's start there.
Yes, it's you can go to the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/The Ultimate High, a memoir. And we will be having a pre-sale button on there very shortly within the next 2 weeks. It should be published for pre-sale in about 8 weeks.
And how does this sound? Because the wheels in the head are constantly turning. And maybe have a book signing and a book debut here at Rated R for Recovery.
I would love
That'd be
that.
nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us a little bit about what the book chronicles.
The book chronicles, actually, it starts out the day I was born. We never know. We don't, as addicts, we're not born addicts, It's a pivotal moment or a series of events that happens throughout our lives to the point where one day we just can't take it anymore, and we decide to do something that's really not healthy for us. And
what about the school of thought that says it is handed down, it's a disease that is handed down generation to generation?
My parents were teachers. My father had a master's in music. My mother was an English professor, and neither one of them were drug addicts.
How about uncles and aunts, grandparents? No? Well, so that's there goes that theory right out the window. In my case, my mother and father were not alcoholics or addicts, but my sister's brother and all his kids, except for 2 of them, and he had 8 kids. They're all hardcore alcoholics. So, but anyway, so and you're right. It starts out for many of us like a party, and then we find a substance which usually they say is our drug of choice, whether it be alcohol, and a lot of people call marijuana the gateway drug. I myself, the first mind-altering substance I ingested was alcohol. How about you, Shelley?
Alcohol, yeah.
How about you, Christina?
Alcohol.
Yeah. How about the crowd? Alcohol? Very rarely is a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old to say, I think I'll pick up a crack pipe. So that really doesn't happen. Or I think I'll inject myself. I don't know. That could happen, and I'm sure in some cases it does happen. But for the most part, I think alcohol is that gateway drug. and that's just my opinion. Shelley?
I agree. I mean, I don't know that anything is a gateway drug. My train of thought is a little different. I think that the disease waits inside of you, and some of us wake it up, and some of us don't.
So you think like for me, my drug of choice was cocaine. It started out with powder cocaine, and then it developed into what back in the 80s. I know you're thinking I'm in my early 30s, but I'm not. So back in the 80s, it was freebase and then crack cocaine. And when I ran out of that drug, I wasn't one of these, what they say, a garbage pail. I didn't take whatever you had. I just looked for more, and when I couldn't find more, I went to sleep for a while, and then I got back up and continued to look for more. So it was that continuous focus for that one drug. What is your experience with that? Christina first.
Well, it did start out with alcohol. I actually, I led a very privileged life. I went to Juilliard in New York. It's one of the most distinguished music schools.
That in Berkeley and Boston?
Yep, absolutely. And it started out with alcohol, and I actually, in New York, worked with a lot of the homeless drug addicts on the street. We actually used to be part of the Needle Network, where we would go and hand out clean needles, food, and blankets and everything for people that were on the street in New York.
So what happened?
Well, and going back to as far as parents and it being handed down. My mother passed away about 25 years ago, and she died in my arms, and that was probably one of the biggest triggers that happened. After that, I renounced God for 25 years. I had nothing to do with him. I just went off, and anybody that could hurt me or hate or anything, I had so much hate for them and so much hate for myself. And it just kept spiraling till I totally fell down the rabbit hole. And my father was not an alcoholic. He did not start really drinking until after my mother died. And after that, it consumed him and killed him in 2012.
There's literature that says that a crisis can help us stop.
Yes.
There's literature that says a crisis can do the opposite, which is in your case. Shelley, there's different types of addicts and alcoholics, as we learned through our own recovery, right? Which means that there's the casual user, the hardcore user, and then the chronic variety. And the hardcore one, when they have a episode in their lives, like they get a DUI or they go to jail or there's a death in the family, they put it down and they say, that's it. The chronic one is the one that goes on to the bitter end, blotting out all consciousness of what's around them. What's your experience with that?
Well, you're an addict when you say you are.
Yeah.
So some people may use over something and some people may not, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are or are not an addict. I think that is like a personal thing that's inside
Absolutely.
you, that like you make that choice when you know.
Absolutely.
It's the inability, it's using against your own will.
Yeah.
Really is what it is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I think we just said the same thing in different ways. No one can say whether he or she is addicted. It's for me to say and tell the world that I am this. Christina, so your mom, she was ill?
Yes, she had cancer, and she actually she died at the age that I am now. So
Which is 22?
I love you.
All right.
No, 47. And when all this happened back in my clean date is this time around is September 14th. 3 days before that, I OD'd. And I had an out-of-body experience. I had the bells ringing in my ears and everything. And I chased that high for 3 more days until I actually got scared straight. Ran out of my house, called a friend. I said, come get me. I am done.
So getting back to the book, The Ultimate High, which is available on what label or what publishing?
There'll be a pre-sale button on Facebook. It's facebook.com/The Ultimate High, a memoir.
Is this this typical way of promoting a book or selling a book, as opposed to being on the New York Times bestseller and being signed by a publisher? What does it take to get signed by a publisher where they help you promote the book?
Well, I guess that would be a question for my editor, Lisa.
Okay.
Lisa she's been excellent through this whole thing. She actually wrote her own memoir, and she is a renowned chef out in California.
Is she one of us?
To a certain extent, yes.
Okay.
And she has had her own trials and tribulations, and she's actually a chef that lost 3 of her fingers in a pasta machine.
Ooh.
And yeah.
In a possum machine?
Pasta, not a
pasta.
possum.
Oh, sorry.
Awesome machine.
Pasta, like as in, ragu.
Well, I was
you
thinking
know?
of the Beverly, it's Beverly Hillbillies thing.
Yeah,
Eat
and
possum.
till this day, she's still chefing. She's the Malibu
Well, good
chef.
for her.
Yeah, and she overcame everything. When she heard my story through a mutual friend, we contacted each other on Facebook, and she's been guiding me through this whole thing. She has publishers set up.
And what about your friend that you talked about from New York that was with you through this whole process? Is
Cheryl.
And who is Cheryl to you?
Cheryl is she's my gardening angel.
So she was always there to
Always.
encourage you
Yep.
and not to judge you.
Exactly. She never judged me for one bit of 1 minute.
Because when people do that, we walk away from them, don't
Yep.
they? When somebody looks at me and says, "You need to do this, you need to do that," well, I don't. What are you talking about?
The one
Shelley,
and the one
Thank
thing
God my friends aren't like that. I tell them what to do all the time.
The one thing that she did say to me when this went down this time, Cheryl and I have been friends for 43 years. And when this went down, I invited her and her husband over, and I said, I got something to tell you. I said, I just got back from rehab, and I'm a drug addict. She said, how do we help you stay clean? I said, you can't. I got to do that for myself. The only thing I need from you right now is a lot of support.
Yeah. And ultimately, if you're a proponent of 12-step recovery, no matter what the fellowship is, the basic idea of the whole when I come in, I say, I hope this thing's going to help me stop using. But that's not the key. The key is to help each other. We show each other what may be done to elicit of a power greater than ourselves, regardless of what our conception of that power is.
Mm-hmm.
Then to
Absolutely.
rely all we do on that power, Shelley.
What's that?
Yeah, but
I didn't hear your question.
About the whole process of 12-step recovery is to find God and rely on God.
Well, right. It's just to find a higher power. But if you come out the gate with that, when people come to a meeting and you talk about God or anything
absolutely.
like that, they'd go running. I would have went running back out the door. Like,
But that's what I mean. That's
but
what
ultimately, that's where you
and that's
get.
what the 12 steps are set up to do.
Right.
They bring you in the back door, and we work this process,
Right.
and then I find a God. The byproduct of working the steps is finding a God of my own understanding.
It absolutely is. It's
Yeah.
finding a God of your own understanding and learning to trust in that higher power and have the willingness to let go of your own.
Are you able to do that on a daily basis with all circumstances?
I give my will and I take it back, and then I give it and I take it back. I have not yet learned how to continually give my will to my higher power.
How about you, Christina?
I give everything to God. Everything. No, I do now. I didn't before. November of 2000.
Give us some time.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
November of 2016. I had been clean for about 63 days, and I started hallucinating. And I didn't know where I was, what I was doing. I didn't know my name, didn't know who the president was or anything. It was at work. And I started walking around in circles and didn't know where I was. They rushed me to the hospital, and I spent 2 days there, and I had acute hepatitis C. And I was extremely symptomatic to the point where my liver was about to fail. And I remember laying in that hospital bed and saying, "Dear God, help me." It was the first time I spoke to him in 25 years. I said, "Dear God, help me." And I let everything go, my hate, my anger, everything. And I let it all go, and I gave it to him, and some amazing, amazing things happened to me, all on the good side. So from here on out, I give everything to him. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I say before my feet even hit the floor, "Thy will be done," whatever it is. And he's I've been unbelievably blessed in these last 8 months.
Yeah, and that's where I have failed. I'll tell you personally. My life's an open book. When I struggle, it's due to me not relying on the God of my own understanding. That's the only time I struggle.
Absolutely.
The only time I struggle. Like I said, the first time I came into recovery was, my last arrest was August 15th of 2008. I was released in October of 2008, and I stayed sober for 3.5, just shy of 4 years. I relapsed. Then I stay clean and sober. I never leave either. I don't leave you people. I just use, and I lie about it for a short amount of time, and then then the guilt hits me, and I got to tell on myself. So I tell on myself, and then I stay sober for the last time for just shy of 5 years. So I've been exposed to this fellowship and involved in this fellowship since that October of 2008. But am I always telling the truth? No. Am I always telling on myself? No. Or else I wouldn't be at the point that I get to that is because of my own, what would I say? My own will, I guess, because a lot of people say, this is a trigger, that's a trigger. A friend of mine named Carlton D said to me one time in his Southern way, he said, that's a bunch of crap. Either you're spiritually, there's no such thing as triggers. Either you're spiritually fit or you're not.
I agree with that.
And that just resonated with me.
There's no gray area.
Yeah. So either I am relying on that power or I am not. And that's what I try to practice. And when we go, if we want to start working out or if we want to start to swim or be a mountain climber, we start with little steps, right? And we go into the gym, and in my case, we lift 2-pound weights, and we build up from there. So I have to practice, and doing this on a daily basis. Does your book describe and encourage others how to help themselves?
Absolutely. Through my own experience, to the point where both in recovery and spiritually, both, to the point where
isn't it one of the same?
Yes, kind of, sort of, but there are different aspects to each. I mean, they go hand in hand. I'll give you that. But I view them as two separate things, but they complement each other.
Yes, absolutely. So once again, the book is The Ultimate High. Give Christina Giordano a nice round of applause.
Thank you.
Once again, we are going to take a commercial break to pay some of the bills, and when we come back, Brett T will be entertaining us. You are listening to Rated R for Recovery and RatedR4Recovery.com.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery. RatedR4Recovery.com, brought to you in part by Sovereign Health, with offices all over the country, based out of Los Angeles, California. See them at sovhealth.com. Okay, now is the entertainment portion of the program. Please welcome Brett T to the show. Brett, is your music available anywhere that people can, like, if they say, oh, I love that guy, can they go home and listen to you?
Yeah, you can find it on Bandcamp, Brett Egan Music.
And you're going to do some selections for us now?
Yeah, I'm gonna play some covers tonight.
Okay.
Not busting out any originals, so.
Okay, well, have at it.
Something hopefully everybody knows. I know we're a little early in this, but you were talking about remembering people, so I just want to dedicate this to two of my friends I lost, Jeremy and Crystal. So let's keep them in our hearts and prayers.
Amen. I knew them both.
There's no one in town I know. You gave us some place to go. On sleepless roads the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. What would you think of me now? So lucky, so strong and so proud. Never said thank you for that. Now I'll never have a chance. May angels lead you in. Hear you mean my friends. On sleepless roads the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. And if you were with me tonight, I'd sing to you just one more time. Song for a heart so big, God would let it live. May angels lead you in. Hear you me, my friends. On sleepless roads the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. May angels lead you in. Hear you me, my friend. On sleepless roads the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. 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 May angels lead you in.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was good. That was really good. And so hopefully you and all of you here in the audience and people listening at home will be part of this May 13th doing overdose awareness on Saturday, May 13th, for those of us that have passed away. Rick, real quickly, before Brett does another song, next week we have a gentleman named Ray Sorbonne on the show, and Ray is in a band called Apocalypse Blues Review with different members of the band Godsmack. He will be here performing for us and telling his story. Also, Misty Kinzel, who is also another author, who wrote a book about drug addiction and stuff. That's all next week here at Rated R for Recovery. Brett, you going to do another song for us?
Yeah, I'm going to do another cover. We're going to keep it slow. This one's called The Freshman.
Oh. Even I know that song.
I think I do too.
When I was young, I knew everything. She a punk who rarely ever took advice. Now I'm guilt-stricken, sobbing with my head on the floor, stopping baby's breath in a shoe full of rice now. Can't be held responsible. She was touching her face. I won't be held responsible. She fell in love in the first place. For the life of me, I cannot remember what made us think that we were wise and we'd never compromise. For the life of me, I cannot believe we'd ever die a vow human slept, and now he's guilt-stricken, sobbing with his head on the floor. Thinks about her now and how he never really wept, he said. Can't be held responsible. She was touching her face. I won't be held responsible. She fell in love in the first place. For the life of me, I cannot remember what made us think that we were wise and we'd never compromise. For the life of me, I cannot believe we'd ever die for these sins. We were merely freshmen. Tried to wash her hands of all of this. Never talk of a lack in relationships. How we're guilt-stricken, sobbing with our heads on the floor. We fell through the ice when we tried not to slip, we'd say. Can't be held responsible. She was touching her face. Won't be held responsible. She fell in love in the first place. For the life of me, I cannot remember what made us think that we were wise and we never compromised. For the life of me, I cannot believe we'd ever die for these sins. We were merely freshmen.
So that was a song by the Verve Pipe, right?
Sure was.
Yeah, I'm not as old as
Classic.
Well, actually, I think this radio station I was working for at the time broke that song. Anyway, so we've come to the end of the show. Join us next week as Ray Cerbone will be here telling his story. Apocalypse Blues Review is the name of his band with different members of the band Godsmack. It's an alternate project that these guys from Godsmack are working on with Ray. So that should be awesome, hearing him sing, hearing him play, and also telling his story. Misty Kinzer will be here about her book, and a special thanks to Shelley. Give Shelley a nice round of applause.
Thank you.
A very popular young lady. Shelley has been sitting in for Joy Thomas, so that's about all we have. You've been listening to Rated R for Recovery and RatedRforRecovery.com. God bless you and stay sober, my friends.